Welcome to another weekly edition of our StaySmart newsletter and podcast, brought to you by Viciniti Corporate Housing, where we try to keep you updated on what we see happening in corporate housing, relocation, business travel, hospitality, anything that we think may be relevant to you and to your company. It's a cool fall day here in Kansas, but I'm enjoying the weather. I do enjoy the fall season. We have some really good articles for you this week. The first one was actually brought to my attention at a recent CHBA event, and we've had a couple people bring this to my attention. I thought it'd be a good article to talk about. It's definitely because it affects our industry. The article talks about in British Columbia, in Canada, there were some new regulations put in place around the short-term rental industry. What's interesting about this is their definition in this legislation is that short-term rentals are for stays of 90 days or less. That's a big change from regulations that we've seen around the country and around the globe, really. We just talked about recently the regulations in New York City. Those were based on stays of 30 days or less. Dallas, Phoenix, all these regulations that we've seen recently have been about 30 days or less for short-term rentals. They define short-term rentals as less than 30 days. This is a little bit different. Obviously, this article talks about BC United, a political party, opposing the legislation and wanting to make some modifications to it, and they suggest changing that to 30 days or less for the definitions of short-term rentals. It's definitely something I agree with. I think this is a huge effect on the corporate housing industry if this would pass. So it's definitely something that I'll be keeping an eye on. Hopefully you keep an eye on it too. Another article about funding in the industry. Anyplace announced recently $10 million in funding. Anyplace has been around since 2017. I think this brings their funding to $18 million. So, it's a corporate housing company, a furnished rental company. They do stays of 30 days or less, or 30 days or longer for their 4 different locations: New York, LA, San Francisco, San Diego. With this funding, they're looking to expand. I think it's an interesting article just because you see more funding in the industry, in the space, whether it's in an agency model or fixed asset model like this. I think it's good to see funding continuing to go into the corporate housing segment or temporary housing segment. Don't always like more competition, but it's good to see funding coming into the industry. The next couple articles kind of in regards to business lounge, airport business lounges. We've talked about this previously. Popularity of them, and this article talks about the popularity has caused overcrowding in these locations too, and how are airlines and travel companies and credit card companies dealing with that. Delta Airlines, we had talked about previously on one of our podcasts, had put in new restrictions because of the overcrowding, and they just last week announced that they were pulling back from those regulations. So I think that's interesting because I think it's something that we're going to continue to see. Delta, United, American, they're all announcing new lounges or splitting up their lounges to have different tiered access. So I think we're going to continue to see the popularity. So I think we'll see more and more expansions in the business lounge segment. And then the next article after that is kind of ties on to that because Priority Pass announced, in addition to the 1,300 locations you can already access globally with Priority Pass, you can now get access to the gyms, the one in Philadelphia and one in Baltimore. It's the Roam Fitness locations. I think it's really interesting. Something I would probably take advantage of is being able to access a gym. You have a long layover, a flight delay. I was just delayed in JFK for several hours. Would have been nice to get, a quick little workout in. They have a gym and lockers and things like that, so you don't have to worry about being the stinky guy on the plane. You can get a quick workout, take a shower, get on your next plane. I really like that idea. It's something I'm going to be taking a look at. The last article comes from Worldwide ERC. They put this article out recently about navigating remote work trends worldwide. And I like how it talks about just the different regions globally and how they've navigated remote work differently, whether it's Asia or Europe North America or even Latin America. Each region has done it a little bit different. Asia didn't quite see as much remote work during the lockdowns. The US, Canada, Britain probably were the most using remote work. I think this will be interesting because I think there's still going to be, at least here in the US, a push for return to the office. Europe, I think we're seeing that also. But I think what I really love was a quote in the article that talks, it says, work is no longer confined to a single location. Work is developed into a flexible activity that can take place at many times in many places, with the how no longer set in stone. I really like that quote because I do think that's something that we'll see. And it does affect, mobility, relocation, mobility, business travel. I think it's a really interesting article. I really enjoyed looking at the different aspects of the different regions and how remote work has taken off. Those are the articles that we have this week. I'd love to tell you more about Viciniti Corporate Housing, our parent company, Transitions Group. We've been in business since 1985. We're an employee-owned company. Transitions Group, like I said, is the name of our company. That's why I use the tagline. That's what I see transitioning this week. If you'd like to hear more about how Viciniti Corporate Housing can help you, how we can partner, collaborate together, please let us know. I'd love to partner with you. Anything you'd like to let us know or have any questions, send me an email, leave a comment in the comment section. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, go ahead and do that. That's what I see transitioning this week. Take care, everyone.